and quite a lot of them were the rear guard that allowed a lot of other people to get out. It meant that a lot of the 51st got locked up, and they twiddled their thumbs for several years in POW camps, and some of them invented the reel of the 51st Highland Division, which obviously couldn't be danced with men and women. It was danced with men and men, but that has become a mainstream reel for a lot of partying in Scotland now. So that's a bit of history that's been created fairly recently.
It makes me very emotional because they survived through the camp, the prison camp, by doing this and uniting with their kind of Scottish heritage and culture, what they were allowed to do. So they survived because of that, and they created something new. And that's why I think a lot of people at different boards in Scotland, they use the 51st. And so that means a lot to me. In fact, it meant so much that we got a big portrait of myself, ourselves. Really, we didn't want to be sitting up like this, like the rest of our ancestors. We actually got a portrait of both dancing together, dancing in the reel of the 51st. So dancing means such a lot to me.
And we got it painted before we were old and decrepit, like.
Story, which I know is funny. And then, do you have any relationship, strong friendships with other clan chiefs?
Yeah, right. I was brought up here, obviously. The McNabs are not quite the next one up the glen, but they're two up the glen, as it were. So Jamie McNab is just a year younger than me. I think, yes, he's a couple of years younger. His elder sister was exactly the same age as me. So we used to go to parties together when we were young. So I know Jamie and his sister Virginia. The McGregor we used to bump into a fair amount of.
But the McNabs had a fight with us before, weren't they?
I think the McNabs and we have had fights before now.
They've got our swords.
Yeah.
If you're listening anywhere, they've got our swords.
They've got
our swords.
Yeah.
They've got our sword. The sword after the Boniface Charles gave to our Francis Buchanan of Armfire.
That's it.
And they nabbed it. One day they'll get that one.
And the truce you wrote at the Games in Australia?
Yeah, well that was, there were about 5 chiefs I think went out to the Edinburgh Highland Games, went out to Sydney, and they recreated the Edinburgh version out in Sydney, most of the same cast, and there was something like 2,000 professional musicians, dancers, jugglers. It was the most fantastic display. And then there was an assorted sort of motley crew, I would call us, of 50 clansmen, and we marched in to applause. And you think, what are we offering? There's these hordes of people marching around, and there were bands who were marching together like this, through each other, without colliding, and then backwards through each other. And you think, how the hell do you do that while you're playing music? And it was a great spectacle. So we were, there were half a dozen chiefs out there, and we met, and we actually knew we were going to be out there. We had a couple of good dinners together, and we sort of had a good shake of hands on it. So,
yeah. We hadn't actually met, so we went out there. We had a quick kind of informal meeting just beforehand, and he sidled up to us.
But what you're also saying is, if we do decide to go to war with the McNabs, no, you won't be too upset.
Yeah, with the sword, we could put them in the firing line.
Excellent.
He's chief in the standing council.
Yes. All the chiefs, well, not all of them, but a big proportion. Well, of course, the trouble is, in any battle, the victor will tell the history, and both sides will tell completely different versions of the story. So I will concoct the version, well, I won't concoct the version, but very roughly speaking, it happened up at Strathar, which is about 10, 12 miles north of here. There is a battlefield, we know where that was. It came about because one of them, or one of us, insulted the other by slapping them around the face with a fish, and this insult was then responded to, and I think the idea was that the responding party thought, right, I'll get half a dozen of my mates together and we'll go and clobber this guy. But the other guy said, there's half a dozen of them coming, let's have 30 of us. And it kind of escalated, and there was actually a few people dead at the end of the cup.
Oh wow. So who started it?
I forget which way round.
We were the drunkards that did the slapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you get the fish?
McLaren version.
We were the
started it,
instigators.
they finished it.
Yeah.
Oh, so who, nobody won, nobody came out the victor at the end, really?
Oh, the McLarens definitely won that one.
Oh.
Yeah. Slaughtered us
Well,
all.
not being the drunkards would probably help. Then.
Probably helped.
Okay.
If you want to see the battlefield, it's next to Rob Roy's